Hi everybody, the state of Kerala is nearly bankrupt.
Now, the Kerala government has been citing a lot of financial crisis you would recall in the state.
The state is now facing difficulties when it comes to paying salaries.
Kerala has run up a loss of 1,10,000 crores because Kerala is on the verge of bankruptcy.
In a shocking update, a state that is known to be the most developed and literal state of India, the state that is called as the God's own country, it is now facing an economic crisis just like Sri Lanka.
You open the newspapers in Kerala and every day the headlines invariably on the front page is about financial crisis.
Kerala government seems to be in financial crisis.
Kerala Finance Minister K.N. Balagopal has written to Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on the grave financial crisis facing the state.
Kerala is using borrowed funds to pay off the state's expenses.
They don't have money for pensions, for salaries, and it's spending for months together. That's the state of Kerala.
As of last week, salaries of 3.5 lakh government employees are delayed. The ones who got their salary are not able to withdraw the entire amount. Social security schemes of 55 lakh people have been put on hold. And now, the state of Kerala is asking the centre to bail it out. And if you're wondering why politics and economics are so important for you as a citizen, I gotta tell you that in our case study of 2022, we presented a case study from the RBI's research. And this case study clearly alerted everyone about this ongoing economic problem in some states of India. And like I said in 2022, even today, if you don't pay attention to your state's finances, your state will be in the same condition as Kerala. So if you want to be a sharp citizen of economics or just a sensible citizen, you need to understand how did Kerala fall into an economic crisis. In spite of being so educated and development focused, why couldn't the leaders of Kerala save the state from this crisis? And most importantly, as citizens of India, you need to know the lessons that every state needs to learn from the fall of Kerala. Before we move on, I want to quickly thank the 1% Club for supporting our content. People, as the new financial year is about to begin, most of you will be expecting your appraisals, right? And it is extremely important that you manage your money better and take control of your finances. And just like we take resolutions to transform our lives every New Year's Eve, this new financial year, you need to take the resolution to take control of your finances. And this is where 1% Club is here to help you out. This company is founded by my dear friend Sharan Hegde, also known as Finance with Sharan. The 1% Club is India's biggest finance community with almost 50,000 members. So if you want to learn about early retirement planning, tax planning and insurance planning, and if you want to start your financial resolution, your first step must be to attend Sharan's personal finance masterclass. This 2-hour masterclass is attended by more than 2 lakh individuals and has a rating of 4.8. In this masterclass, Sharan will teach you everything about personal finance and he will help you take control of your financial independence. And only for thinkschool learners, there is an exclusive discount of 50% on the masterclass. So if this sounds useful to you, join the masterclass using the link in the description. To understand this fight between the state and the center, we need to understand something called the net borrowing ceiling or NBC. In very simple terms, this is a limit that is imposed on the states by the central government, which puts a limit on how much they can borrow in a financial year. This is decided by the 15th Finance Commission and it has been fixed at 3% of the state's GDP for FY23 and 24. So if Maharashtra has a GSDP of 1 trillion rupees, then they can borrow or take a debt of 3% of this 1 trillion, that is 30 billion rupees. If this is clear to you, let us try to understand why is the center not allowing Kerala to borrow more. You see, for the fiscal year of 2023-24, the net borrowing ceiling for the state of Kerala stands at 32,442 crores. But in the last few years, Kerala has borrowed 3,140 crores extra. So this year, the centre has cut this 3,140 crores from Kerala's share of 32,442 crores this year. So in total, Kerala could borrow 29,302 crores this year according to the NBC limits of FY23 and 24. Now, another rule says that a state can borrow 75% of the total NBC limit within the first 9 months of a financial year. So, Kerala was allowed to borrow 75% of 29,302 crores, that is 21,852 crores for the first 9 months of its financial year. But somehow, Kerala has exhausted this amount within the first 6 months of the financial year itself. So now, they need another 15,000 crores more than the NBC limit to run the state for the rest of the year. And this is where the tussle between the state and the center started.
State of Kerala, where a row between the Kerala government and the centre has erupted over financial crisis in the state.
Kerala government seems to be in financial crisis and they are blaming central government for this.
We are facing a lot of decisions by the union government which uses our financial resources. There is a serious crunch is there.
On the other hand, the centre told Supreme Court that Kerala is one of the most financially unhealthy states.
Kerala today, with Pinarayi Vijayan sitting in Jantar Mantar in Delhi, is the most badly economically mismanaged state in the country.
So now the question over here is, how did Kerala suddenly fall into such a big debt trap, and what is the way forward? Well, the first reason for Kerala's downfall is its spendthriftiness in the wrong direction. How do we know this? Well, we looked at the economic indicators of Kerala. Now pay very close attention to this because you can use the same framework to understand how your state is managing its finances. So firstly, when it comes to Kerala, we looked at the capital outlay as a percentage of its net expenditure. As in, how much money did Kerala spend into building infrastructure and roads as compared to its entire expenditure. Now why is it important? Because 100 rupees invested in capital outlay can give you a return of 250 rupees in the long run. So while Maharashtra spent 13.4% of its expense into capital outlay, Tamil Nadu spent 12.14% and Kerala only spent 8.2%. Similarly, the next variable to check is its committed expenditure as a percentage of revenue receipts. In simple words, if you make 1 lakhs a month and you have a compulsory expenditure of 20,000 rupees on rent, 10,000 rupees on groceries and 10,000 rupees in utilities, then your committed expenditure is 40,000 rupees, right? So just like that, committed expenditure in the context of a state is the compulsory budget that the government has to spend out of its expenditure. So just like this, in the context of a state, committed expenditure is the compulsory expense that the government has to make out of its revenue. This is usually on government salaries, pensions and interest payments. So if this committed expenditure is less, then it means that the state is performing well. Why? Because if the government has money left in its account, then it can use these savings into building better infrastructure or it can spend on welfare of the people. So in this variable, while Tamil Nadu stands at 64%, Maharashtra stood at 56%, Gujarat stood at 46%, whereas Kerala stood at 70%. In fact, in 2021, while other states had an average committed expense of 54.98% of their revenue, for Kerala it stood at 82%. So in the context of personal finance, it's like saying your salary is 1 lakh rupees and 70,000 of this money is going into groceries, rent and utilities, whereas your friends are only spending 55,000 rupees. This is the status of Kerala with the second economic indicator. Then the next variable to check is interest payments to revenue receipts, as in how much of the government's expense is spent on interest payments for loans. It's like if your salary is 2 lakh rupees and you spend 1.5 lakhs only on paying interest for your home loan, then it is obviously bad, right? So more this interest payments, the worse it is for the state. Now, if you look at Kerala's performance in 2021-22, while other states spent 13.38% of their revenue into interest payments, Kerala spent 19.98%, which is almost 20% of its revenue into just interest payments. And today, if we compare interest payments to revenue receipts of Kerala, while Kerala stands at 19%, Maharashtra spent only 11%, Tamil Nadu spent 20%, Karnataka spent 14%, and Gujarat spent only 14%. So again, Kerala and Tamil Nadu are the biggest spenders on interest. And as you can see in this chart, it was not only greater than other states, but it is even more than the Finance Commission target of 10%. And lastly, as you can see in this chart, both the fiscal deficit and the revenue deficit is higher for Kerala than for other states. So clearly from this entire analysis, we could see that Kerala has spent more money into short-term expenses rather than long-term investments. And this has led them to spend a lot more money without an increase in income. This is the first problem with Kerala. Now, some people might make it political and say that, you know what, bro, the center must have discriminated against Kerala. So just so you know, Kerala is a recipient of 53,137 crores worth of revenue deficit grant from the central government as recommended by the 15th Finance Commission from 2020 to 2025. And this is one of the highest in the entire country. So the question over here is, in spite of so much grant, suddenly, how did Kerala find itself in an economic crisis? Well, this is where we started digging even further. And here's where we found the second major reason to be inefficient tax collection. So while Kerala government collected 12.4 rupees per 100 rupee of state income from 1975 to 1986, after GST, it declined to an extent where it touched 8.2 rupees after 2018 and further decreased to 6.9 rupees during the COVID year. And during the same time, Kerala lost 25,000 crores because they could not follow the new IGST regime and they could not implement GST system quickly. So again, the state government was left with no choice but to take on more debt. These are the reasons why the central government is calling Kerala as financially the most unhealthy state in India. Now the question is, what is Kerala's justification for all this? Because if so much allegations are being put on Kerala, then the state must have something to say, right? Well, as it turns out, they do. Kerala's finance minister argues that Kerala's share has been declining from something called the divisible pool of taxes. And this is something that makes a lot of sense, so understand this carefully. The divisible pool of taxes refers to a specific portion of the total tax revenue collected by the central government, which is eligible to be shared between the central government and its states. And if you look at this chart, it usually ranges between 30% to 40%. For example, let us imagine India collected 1000 crores in taxes in FY23 and 24. And let's say 35.1% of this amount would be distributed among the states. So the total divisible pool is 351 crores. And according to the 15th Finance Commission, this 351 crores must be distributed among the states according to this table. So according to this table, Kerala will get 1.92%, that is 6.7 crores. Maharashtra will get 6.3%, that is 22.1 crores. Karnataka will get 3.6% and so on and so forth. So Kerala over here argues that in the 1990s, Kerala was allocated 3.85% of this divisible pool. But fast forward to the 15th Finance Commission, this share is almost halved to 1.92%. And this is the reason why Kerala is facing a shortage of funds. So this begs the question, why is Kerala given less share in this divisible pool and how is this share decided in the first place? Well, this is done by the Finance Commission of India and they decide how to split the revenue between states based on income, population, size of the state, area and even tax collection of the states as compared to each other. If this is clear, let's understand why did the 15th Finance Commission distribute money to the states differently. If you look at this chart, with the 14th Finance Commission, they gave 17.5% weightage to the 1971 population. The 15th Finance Commission has changed it to 0. And just like this, the weightage has been changed for multiple parameters as seen on the screen. So the problem over here that Kerala points out is that if the Finance Commission is giving more weightage to the 2011 data, then obviously it will get less money because Kerala has less population. And they have worked very hard to keep the population in control. So they say that if the revenue of the state has been decreased because of they controlling the population, then clearly Kerala is being penalized by the center for controlling the population. So this way Kerala says that they are receiving less taxes than their fair share. And lastly, Kerala has a problem with something called the inclusion of off-budget borrowing. Now I know this sounds very complex, but if you're listening to something complex at thinkschool, all you need to understand is a simple story. So here it goes. Imagine the government wants to build a new railway line, which is a very expensive project. Let's say this costs 10,000 crores. Now the government has already reached its borrowing limit of 30,000 crores. And now the center tells them that they cannot borrow more money. So now what will the state do? Will it keep quiet? No. As it turns out, the government could use a public sector unit and then raise money. So let's call this PSU as National Rail Infrastructure Limited. So now the National Rail Infrastructure Limited goes ahead and borrows money either from banks or through bonds. Now this money is not shown as borrowed by the government. So it doesn't officially increase the debt of the state government. But the catch over here is that while paying back the debt, the government itself promises to pay back this loan using its future budget. This means indirectly the government is responsible for the debt, right? But the hack over here is that it won't appear in the government's budget as direct borrowings. This is the reason why it's called off-budget borrowings. Okay? So even though on paper the state is not borrowing beyond 30,000 crores, in reality in this case it has used a PSU to borrow another 10,000 crores. If this is clear, let's come back to our story. Kerala had one of the highest off-budget borrowings in the country. If you look at this chart, while Kerala has 22% of its off-budget borrowings as a percentage of the total borrowings, Maharashtra and Gujarat had almost zero off-budget borrowings. And similarly, as you can see on the screen, for Sikkim and Telangana, even they have very high off-budget borrowings. So this is very dangerous, right? Because even though the debt is not reflected in the state's account, it can grow uncontrollably through the PSU borrowings because there isn't an NBC limit on it. Well, guess what? This is the reason why in March 2022, the center came up and said, listen guys, both your borrowings from the state as well as the off-budget borrowings will be considered in your state's account as debt only. So you cannot hide this debt using the instrument of off-budget borrowings. So now, if a state borrowed 1,000 crores extra on top of their NBC limits, then next year they would get 1,000 crores less from the center. So suddenly the states that had more off-budget borrowings, they were in trouble. And one of these states is Kerala, which suddenly got trapped because their budget started to get cut. And Kerala argues that this move is not fair. And this does make sense because if you want to rectify a problem in an economy which is as complex as India, you cannot give a knee-jerk reaction. You have to rectify this problem slowly and steadily. This is the reason why Kerala got stuck in its debt trap and now they need another 15,000 crores. And this brings us to the last part of the episode, and that are the lessons that we need to learn from Kerala's economic crisis. Lesson number 1. People more than the Hindu-Muslim propaganda and all the ridiculous things that go on in the mainstream media, it is important for us to cut through this chaos and learn to judge the government on the basis of economic indicators. So a kind request to you is go and check as to how your state is handling its finances, because that's where the real trouble will come. Number 2, whether you are the king of Dubai, the state of Kerala, or an ordinary citizen, spending beyond your means is going to cost you very heavily in the future. In this case, we saw this with off-budget borrowings. And lastly, whenever an economic crisis happens in any state or any country for that matter, it is extremely important for us, the educated citizens, to study the cause and the effects of these crises such that we can keep an eye on our government so that we don't make the same mistake. And I just hope I give you a perspective to look at your state's economics using all the concepts in this case study. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make YouTube Baba happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to attend Sharan's personal finance masterclass using the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.